Here's another question. How do you answer the objection, Dr. Craig, that God is merely a projection of human desire, goals, wants, and needs, and we somehow project that up in the sky as God and then receive it back as grace?
Well, Kevin, in a sense, all of the theistic arguments that I've laid out are refutations of that. You can't refute these arguments by just saying, well, this is all a projection. If you're going to refute the arguments, you have to either show there's a logical misstep in the arguments, or you have to show that one of the premises is unsupported or false. So you can't refute the Kalam cosmological argument or the design argument by just asserting, well, God is a projection. In fact, what that really tries to explain away would be belief in God, that belief in God is the result of a projection. And that may very well be the case for some people. It may be that for some people, belief in God is the result of a projection. But that's not the interesting question. What we want to know is God's existence something that is purely imaginary, or does God actually exist? And then you've got to deal with the arguments that I've given. Now, in any case, I think there's quite a different way of looking at the relationship between God and ourselves in terms of being persons and God being personal. Why couldn't it be the case that rather than God's being a sort of superhuman person that we have projected, to say that God is a personal being who has created finite persons in his image, and that therefore we are reflections of God's nature. Just as God is personal, so we are personal to a finite degree. So the projection may be just the opposite. It may not be that we're projecting God. It may be rather that we are creations of God which reflect his nature and image. And I think that's just as plausible. And indeed, given the arguments for God's existence, I think that there is a personal creator and designer of the universe who is the locus of moral value and has brought us into existence.
Seems this would be God as projection. These God as projection arguments would be psychological.
Yeah.
They would only examine the psychology of a person who believed in God, and you don't determine whether God exists via psychology.
No, because after all, you might psychologically project something that turns out to be really there. That just doesn't answer the objective question. All that says is that maybe Susie or Bill's belief in God is the result of wish fulfillment or projection or guilt complex or whatever neurosis you want to mention. And maybe that's true. Maybe some people do have that psychological factor as the explanation of, as you say, their autobiographical facts of their psychology. But that doesn't answer the question of the objective existence of this being in any way at all.